Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. This is a Blender tutorial aimed at users who have never used the program before, have no idea how to use any of the onboard tools, and want to create something today. So if you want to learn how to create this little scene, which involves procedurally created wood and glass textures, no add-ons, no paid for textures, you are in the right place. So let's get started. Now, just in case you don't know how to move around or really understand anything in Blender, you obviously select things by clicking them. As you can see, we have a default cube that sits in the middle of the ether, a light, and a camera. Now, if you want to move around and actually change your viewing angle, if you have a mouse wheel, you can click and hold it in and change your viewing angle in many different ways. You can also scroll the mouse wheel back and forth and zoom in. But if you don't have a mouse wheel, like if you're working on a laptop with a touchpad, you can click on this little bubble right here, the XYZ, and move around. It's going to be your friend. Same thing with this little magnifying glass icon. You click and hold, move the mouse back and forth to zoom. The hand allows you to move in this direction. The camera icon, if you click it, it will just bring you into camera view mode like this, which is where we're going to be doing the majority of our work today. Click it again, brings you out, and this little grid toggles perspective and orthographic mode. But we're only going to be working in perspective mode, so you really don't need to worry about it right now. Now, what we want to do to really get started is we want to change this default cube into a piece of wood, and the way we start with that is just by basic modeling. Now I'm going to click the camera view mode just to keep us in focus. So let's make this cube shorter. I'm going to press S for scale, and if I bring the mouse in or out, it makes it bigger or smaller. I want it to be shorter, so I want to only make it smaller on the Z-axis. So with scale mode initiated, I will press Z, and a blue vertical line appears. And I can bring this in and make this very short. And as you can see, in the upper left-hand corner, right by File and Object mode, it says a scale 0.1164. Now, I'm just going to click, and it locks it in place. It's highlighted again. Now, I want this to become thinner on the y-axis, this green line. So I'm going to press S to scale it, and then Y just to scale it on that axis. Obviously, the green line becomes highlighted. I bring it in, and it becomes shorter, like a super small 2x4. But we want this to become longer to fill the camera view, so we're going to scale it on the x-axis, SX. And there we go. Let's move it because I really don't like where it's placed right now. To just move things really quickly, you will press the G key on the keyboard and it grabs it. You move the mouse around, this happens, just moves all over the place in a really weird way. You want to press X to move it on the X-axis. You can also do this for the Y-axis, but we only want it to happen on the X-axis. So once we're here, I want it moved to about here, which is good. I like this placing. We want to press GY to move this board right at this angle, right here, to where it's at the lower left-hand corner. Now, I want these boards to go across the camera view. I could duplicate these by pressing Shift D and pressing Y and just making a ton of boards and eyeballing them. That is not the most efficient way to do things. So let's press X so we can delete that secondary board. We will select the board, highlighted in yellow, and we will add a modifier, an array modifier specifically. So we're going to actually come over here to this little wrench. It says modifier properties. Click it, come up to add modifier right here at the top, and go to search. And array is available for me automatically. But if it's not for you, just type in array in the search box and click it, and it pops up. Nothing happens from our view. Now, that is because it is only affecting the y-axis. As you can see under this thing that says relative offset factor x, it has 1. So it's basically adding things on this x-axis even though we really can't see it. So what we're going to do is click it and add 0, or type 0, sorry, and hit enter. Once again, nothing happens, but now we're going to come over to the Y and we're just going to type 1.1. 1.1 for just a little bit extra distance. Now enter. and you can see a secondary board appears. Now, if I just come over to Y and I click and drag, you'll see it just adjusts that spacing a lot more, but we want it to be at 1.1. Enter. Now, I want these boards to fill up the whole view, so I'm just going to come over here to the area where it says count, and I'm going to click this arrow until it fills up. I'm going to go just a little bit beyond the camera view. Mine is at 26. It's totally fine if yours is at 18 or something like that. The results will be quite similar. Just follow along, get the feel for things. Don't worry about making the absolute perfect exact steps that I am making. So now that I have this sort of where I want it to be, I want to rename this wood. I'm just going to come up here to my little scene collection area. I'm going to double click where it says cube, and I'm going to rename that wood. Type wood and hit enter. Just helps keep you organized as you work. Now, I want to add some glass. I'm going to have to add another mesh in this. That's going to become our glass. So I'm going to hit Shift A to bring up this little menu. But if you don't want to do that, you can also come up here where it says add and add your meshes. I'm going to add a cylinder. Now, just places a cylinder right there in the center of the world. Now, I want this to be a little bit smaller. I'm just going to scale it down. Now, it's obviously in the middle of the wood, so I'm going to press G and Z to bring it up, so it's not just sitting there on the wood. Now, if I want to know how close exactly it is, I can go over to my numpad and press 1 on the numpad. It's the little numbered pad on the right of your keyboard. Press 1, and you can zoom in and see exactly where you are in terms of that orientation and that alignment. It looks like it's just a tiny bit into the wood, but we'll deal with that later because we're going to do a few things that are going to change it. So we're going to just go back into camera view mode right here. And we want to make this, we want to modify this shape. So we're going to do this a little bit more intense than we did the wood. So we're going to come up here to object mode. We're going to click it and we're going to go into edit mode. There is a shortcut for this. If I want to go back into object mode, I can just hit the tab key on the keyboard. I go back into object mode, but I can hit it again. Goes back into edit mode. So anyway, now that we're in edit mode, you see these lines and these dots. That means everything is selected. Up here, you'll see vertex highlighted in this blue box, then edge, and then face. These little points, these are vertexes, these lines are edges, and the spaces between everything are faces. So if I select face, I can select these. If I select face, I can select this. Back to vertex, I can select the individual points. This will come in handy depending on what you're trying to do. So what we want to do is add more detail, more vertexes to the center of this mesh. Now, we could hit the A key to select everything and right click and subdivide. Subdividing will give you more edges, but we want these to wrap around the actual mesh and be a little bit more specific. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to hit Control and press R, hold Control and press R. Now, if I scroll my mouse wheel forward, you'll see it just creates more rings. If I scroll backward, it creates less. Now, I want about 40 rings. So I can type in on the numpad 40, and it adds a lot. Then I can hit enter, enter again, and it locks them into place. Now, I'm going to select faces up top here. I'm going to select this top face. I'm going to zoom in, and everything looks good. Everything looks good. Now, I want this face to be gone. I just want this particular face to be gone so we can have a hollow, entry point. I'm going to press X. I'm going to delete faces. And we just have this hollow tube. Now, I'm going to go back into object mode. And I don't like these vertical bars. If I try to render this, it's really shaded flat. So what we want to do is we want to come up to object and we're going to shade smooth. Now, that looks really good. That looks much better. So what we want to do now is go back into edit mode really quick because I want to make some further adjustments. We're going to press 3, even though we already have faces selected, you can press 1, 2, and 3 to select from vertex to face to edge. So now, right here, I'm just going to zoom in, and I want to create a soft sort of a shape, like a flower vase. Now, the best way to do that is to adjust the scale of this. Now, if I want to select everything around this particular mesh right here, there is a shortcut. If you hold Alt and you select this, you click on this little line, it will give you every face along that particular axis. Same thing right here. If I click that, it gives me all of the faces along that axis. If I don't hold Alt and I just click, it will select singular faces. But I want to have everything around this mesh. So right about here is where I'm going to click, and I've got everything selected. Now I want to adjust the scale, but if I hit S, this is what's going to happen, and it looks really bizarre, and that's not good. So we want to undo our mistake. We want to hit Control and hold it and press Z, and it's undone. So in order to get that smooth effect, that smoothing effect, we're gonna add an additional function within edit mode. It's called proportional editing. It's right up here, this little bullseye-like icon. You click it, it becomes blue, it is enabled. Now, if you click this little arrow, several things appear. And I'm going to choose smooth, or sorry, I'm going to choose sphere. Now, if I press S, a little ring appears, and I can adjust my mouse wheel, scroll it back and forth, and it gets bigger and smaller. Now, if I adjust the scale and bring it out, you'll see that the effect is just significantly different. It's creating a smoother shape. It looks pretty nice. So that's that. And then we go back into edit or object mode with tab, and we can see it looks like a smooth mesh. But if we zoom in, we can see that it's paper thin. And also we can see the wood through the mesh, which is not good. So what we're going to just do really quick is we're going to just add a solidify modifier, which is going to add thickness to this entire mesh without us having to do any manual detail. We're going to go back over here to modifiers, add modifier, hit search, and if solidify is not already there, you can just type into the search bar solidify and click it. And already a little edge forms. And if you want it to be thicker, just bring up the thickness. I want it to be about 0.3. And to make this modifier permanent, you can click apply. And now if you want to see what it looks like without it being applied, you can adjust these. You can click these off and you can see it disables it or re-enables it. But I want to apply this because I know what I'm ready to move forward. So I'm going to click it and apply. And it looks good. Now I'm going to press 1 on the numpad just to see how it looks. I'm going to move it up just a tiny bit, even though it looks really good right there. I'm just going to move it up just a tiny bit. Press 0 on the numpad to go back into camera view, or you can press the camera icon right here. Scroll out. I'm in camera view. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. This is basically what I want. So I'm going to now change the cylinder's name right here in the scene collection, double click it, and change it to glass. All right, so now we are ready for texturing. We are ready to actually make these base meshes start to look actually realistic, like they belong in the real world. Let's get started. What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna come over to the shading panel up here up top, and you'll see that everything changes immediately. We get this blurry background that kind of looks a little bit like camouflage. This is an HDRI that Blender puts in. It's basically an image texture that represents like a world, an environment, if you will. It's got some trees, some sky. You can see it right here. It's like it just gives some basic reflection so you understand what you're working with. Now, I currently have my glass selected. I'm going to select my wood. Now, you can see that Principled BSDF pops up with a material output node if I select the wood, but nothing's there for this glass texture. Now, we'll come to that later. It's really easy, but we're just going to focus on the wood. Now, so you understand how to just change color in Blender with nodes. You can see this. Now, this Principled BSDF will do a lot more than that. It's a very flexible node. But to do that, you will click this little white bar, a color wheel pops up. Now, if I just click and hold this little bubble and start dragging it around, it changes everything in Technicolor. Now, let's say I leave it here and I just want it right back to white super fast. I can hit the backspace key with the arrow hovering over that color, changes it right back. Now, we want two colors. We need a wood base color and we need a wood grain color. We need to add two colors by introducing a color ramp node into our sort of overall workflow. We can do that by go over here to add. Now, color ramp is not under color. It is a converter node, so it is under converter. Now just select color ramp right here and just place it right here. Now you'll notice that this yellow node right here, this little dot, is the same color as the base color. You want to connect nodes of the same color to nodes of the same color. Just makes it gray, nothing fancy yet. We're going to get to work and stuff is going to happen. You don't want to connect yellow to gray or yellow to blue. There are some exceptions, but you really don't want to do that. So now let's change the color. We want to come over here to where it is the black color and just click this black bar. We get this color wheel that pops up, nothing fancy. We want to bring up the slider so we actually introduce some vibrance and can select more colors. So now I want a dark brown. I want a pretty dark brown. So right here with the slider up about maybe 25%, 35% of the way up, and then with the bubble right about here where the orange is meeting the red. And that's good. That's dark red over here, white over here. We will click this white box and click this spot specifically to initiate that. Now, just click the white box. Now, you can just freestyle it from here, but if you want to take the previous color data, you can use this eyedropper tool. Just click it and come right over here. Click, and everything becomes one color. We still don't want one color. Now, you can see that this has this little white outline. That means it's selected, so we come over here. Click that little bar. Now, we want it to be a brighter color. Let's just bring this up a bit. We want a little bit of yellow. We want to bring the bubble over here sort of to the yellow, and we bring this up a bit. We're going to have to feel out these colors. Just feel out what works best for you. Sort of just think about, because there's obviously different types of wood, but just think about what you want. Just the colors, however you see fit. I think I want a little bit different. I'm going to even raise this even higher, and I'm going to bring this over to right about here. Right about there. So you can see dark brown over here, lighter brown over here. That's important. So we're going to zoom out. Now I'm just clicking the mouse wheel, by the way, to move around the node setup. So what we need now is a Voronoi texture. Now this is going to act as our wood grain texture. There's several different textures that are already in place in Blender that you can manipulate and do a lot of things with. So what we're going to do is we could come over here to add, but I'm going to show you a shortcut where you hold shift and press A and the menu pops up, and you can come over here to texture, select Voronoi, and just place it right there. And just plug the distance by clicking and holding and dragging this right here. Just plug it into that color ramp. And you see these lines appear. They appear along the board, and that's okay, but it doesn't look right at all. So what we need to do is have a greater emphasis of control. Now, I need to add 2 nodes before this Voronoi texture to give it more control. So I'm going to do something now. I'm going to press Control. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to press T, and these 2 nodes pop up. Now, if this does not happen for you, that's okay, because you can come under Edit, go under Preferences, select Add-ons, and type in Node Wrangler, and click this, and it will install this very free built-in add-on and just to your Blender workflow, and it will add that shortcut. But if you don't want to do that, you can simply come under Add and add a mapping node and add a texture coordinate node. Now, From here, what we want to do to make the texture coordinates more accurate is we want to change them from generated, which is just sort of a quick generated texture coordinate, to object. And you can see it just sharpens it a little bit. Now, it's pretty big. It doesn't look right. So what we want to do is we want to basically start adjusting the scale of our Voronoi texture. That's going to change the way everything looks for it. So we're going to increase the scale to make the wood grain smaller. That's what I think is going to look better. So when you increase the scale, and I'm going to go about to, it's starting to look okay right here. It's going to be at around 24. 24 is good. Now, I want to increase my detail to 2. As you can see, if I highlight it, it says the number of Voronoi layers to sum. Now, just to illustrate that, if I increase the detail to 2 and I press 2 and enter, it kind of washes out some of it, but it adds detail. Now, additionally, under roughness, you can click and drag it all the way to the right. It blends out all of that grain, and all the way to the left, and it increases the grain if you don't like if you just want to adjust it. But now if I want to go right back, I can hover over roughness to get it right back to where it was and hit backspace, and it is back to 0.5. And everything is looking like I want it to. So that's a good start. That's a good start. Now, I want to keep this color ramp because it's going to come into play with my secondary wood grain texture. We need more wood grain that actually goes along the wood a little bit better. So let's duplicate this color ramp. It's already selected. You can click on it and hold shift and then press D. Bring that down right there. And now we want to add a wave texture. Now you hold shift and press A under texture. You will add a wave texture and you will connect the factor to the factor. Now nothing's happening. Nothing's happening at all. Now the reason for that is because this color ramp is not connected to the principal BSDF, which is not connected to the material output. So what you need to do is you need to combine these colors. You combine colors by adding a mixed color node. So all you need to do is hold shift, press A, under search, you type mix color. Now you see a lot of options. You want the one that says color and mix color. It should have an A and a B node that have the yellow nodes. So now if I bring this up between our color ramp and the principal BSDF, it goes from yellow line to white line. Now if I click it, it automatically connects. But we sort of lose some progress. Why does that happen? It's because this B color right here is set to white. Now if I click it and I start moving it around, you'll see that the grain from the Voronoi is still there, but it's not right. So we just click away and hover over it. Now, we want to connect this color ramp to B. And magically, we get everything from the Voronoi back, but we have these weird lines that go around the y-axis. So what we want to do here is we want to add these two nodes right here, the texture coordinate and mapping, to the wave texture. Now, I'm going to hold Control and hit T, and I'm going to adjust the object to the vector right here. Now, this will allow us to adjust the rotation of these lines so they actually go along the boards and look right. So as you can see, if I hold and drag, click and hold and drag, I can adjust those. Now, I want them at exactly 45. I know this, so I'm just going to click the Z, 4, 5, enter, and they're right there. They're exactly where they're supposed to be. But they're just too many of them. So what we want to do here is we want to adjust the scale of the wave texture. We want to make these lines bigger, so we're going to bring the scale down. That might seem counterintuitive, but it's just the way it is. So we're going to bring it down to about 1.2. 1.2 seems good to me. You can just feel it out with however it works for you. Now, this is where some of the magic happens with procedural texturing, is you just get like a certain step and it starts to have everything go into place. Now, if we increase distortion, if we just click and drag the distortion over, I'm looking for about the value of 30-ish. And you can sort of see it already is forming that realistic wood grain that you would see if you go to like Home Depot or something like that. So that's looking pretty good right now. I feel pretty good about that. So okay, now press 0 on the numpad just to go back into our camera view, and things are looking good. So we want to check how our render is looking now, because this is material view mode. This is not our final render view. Final render represents what you're going to see when you export exactly the way you want it. Now, in order to make this look photorealistic, we have to go under render engine right here and change from Eevee to cycles. You will also want to change your device right here from CPU to GPU if it is an available option to you. Now, we're going to be checking our render in the viewport, and we want to change our max samples from over 1000 here. We want to change them to about 5. I want a fast, I want the ability to see my render really quickly, just to check it, just to see how things are looking in generalities. Now, that's different. This viewport is different from your final render. When I initiate the render sequence, it's going to want to do a lot more passes to clarify and increase that resolution. You'll want that to be at around 300, maybe 350. Because this is a still, this is for like social media, maybe an Instagram post. If you want to do something like much more, you know, like you're trying to do a short film, you'll definitely want to increase those max samples, probably to over 1000. But this is basically going to sample this single frame that, you know, how many times you have that sampled. So anyway, for our viewport, additionally, we want to check denoise because it is going to remove unnecessary grain from the image. And we're going to click this arrow, and we're going to change this pre-filter from fast to accurate. It's just going to make it better. And we're going to just change the quality from balanced to high. Now, if we click that arrow and we come down to render, you'll see that those are the settings that are already there, accurate and high. So that's what we want. So now let's see what our wood looks like in rendered view. We want to press the Z key on the keyboard, and these 4 options appear kind of like a video game, and we want to select rendered. And this is what you should see. And it looks pretty decent right now. It doesn't look perfect, but it looks decent. So let's get everything together. Let's get this guy right here, this mesh, the cylinder, into glass. Now, glass is considerably easier to make than wood. If you felt like, man, this is complicated, I'm having problems, just think about this also like first layer, second layer combined, and then this is like your final pass through where you can change any last minute details and then everything's good. But glass is going to be so simple. You're going to be really happy with it. So just click it right here, and you could work in rendered view mode if you want. You can go back to material. You can work in rendered view. Doesn't matter. So if you click new, you see that it creates this principal BSDF nodes for you. Just pops them right in there for you. Let's make some glass. The fastest way to do that is you click this little arrow right here, and it brings down your transmission. Think of transmission as a form of transparency. If I know it doesn't sound, you probably would be like, why not just call it transparency? Hey, I don't work at Blender. But right here, it says 0. So if I click and drag this little slider all the way over, you can see on the screen, it is starting to create a sort of a frosted glass look. But we're not completely there yet. Now, what happens when you're like, man, I want it to be glossy or I want it to be matte? When you're shading, you're dealing, and even when you're doing other forms of texturing workflow, roughness is going to be something you deal with. So roughness, when I bring it really high, it makes it more matte. But when I bring it down, it makes it more glass-like. And as you can see, if I bring it really tight to about 0.1, it looks quite a bit like glass. If I select wood to remove the yellow outline, that looks quite a bit like glass from the rendered view mode. So that's all you have to do to create glass. So right now, we have this little scene going right now, and you know, it looks like realistic wood and it looks like realistic glass. Now, I kind of don't like the lighting. So let's just show you something that is good for lighting that I learned. A lot of people really like using planes for lighting textures or for lighting sort of devices. I really like that too. So what we're going to do is we come over here, select light, press X, get rid of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a plane by Shift A. And we're going to add a plane. We're going to scale it up And once again, the exacts are kind of up to you. Just get the feel for it. Now I'm going to press G and then Z to bring this up out of the camera view. And I want to bring this along the Y or the X axis. I kind of want this lighting from like this angle. I want it to light this scene from this angle. So I selected everything right there. I'm just going to click this top plane. I'm going to press GX, bring it back there. Zoom out a bit more with the Y, with my mouse wheel. That's a little bit big. I'm going to scale it down just a little bit. Now, I want to rotate this. Now, if I want to rotate something, I can just press the R key, and you can see it starts to rotate. If I press the R key again, it will rotate on several axes. So I'm going to right-click to get out of rotation mode because I only want to click the R key one time to initiate rotate, just like this, and then I want to hit the Y key, and it will rotate like this, and it will face that mesh. And I kind of want to also rotate it again so it's at a bit of an angle. So I'm going to press R and then Z, rotate that. And we're going to see how this is lit. If this isn't lit right, you know, we'll just adjust the position, but we need to add an emission texture to this plane. Now we could go into shading for this, but we don't have to. We can go right here into this little globe-like icon. It says material. And just right here, if you hit new, it'll add a principal BSDF. Is this the same thing as the shading principal BSDF? Yes. The difference between working in this area as opposed to the shading area is that this is where you can add sort of a quick texture for a single item situation. If you wanted layers, if you want like wood grain layers, you can't really do that here. You have to add new nodes. But if you're not trying to add additional nodes, you just want one, like the principal BSDF or emission, you can come right here and do that. So we're going to change this principal BSDF for this plane, for our lighting plane. We're going to click it, and we're going to change that to emission. And we're also going to just notice our color is at white. That's what we want. And we want to change the strength to about, we'll just change it to 7. Now I'm going to zoom in on our camera mode, and I'm going to go into rendered view by pressing Z and then clicking. That's a bit bright. So I'm going to bring that down to about 3. That's better. I think even lower. Let's try 2. That's better. I like that. I'm going to adjust my composition a little bit. I'm going to move this GY and GX just so we could see it a bit better. Now you can sort of see it like just adjusts that render. It gets a little grainy right there. It's just because it's re-rendering. Now, it's looking pretty decent. You can move things around to just get exactly everything where you want it to be. But let's say, you know, you just want to add an additional, you know, you wanted to maybe add in another glass. Like you just are like, hey man, I want to have more of something. You can just simply go into solid mode, Shift A, and let's try something, I don't know. Let's try like a marble. You just go under UV sphere. You see, you get this big guy right here. Just G, right? Just G. Just move it. S to scale it down really, really good. We will shade smooth. And we will GZ to get it down here just to be right about here. Yeah, we can add a few marbles and just go under new. Come down here to transmission, increase the transmission, decrease the roughness, and this time change the color a little bit. Change it to something you like. Try like a you know, a nice blue, Yeah, I like that. Now, if you wanted to create multiple marbles, just to, you know, have, you know, options, you can Shift D, X. Ooh, I can see that both of them are just touching that wood a little bit. So I'm going to hold Shift and select the other one. That will give you the ability to select more than one mesh, and then GZ, little up. Now, this duplicated marble right here, it shares the exact same texture as its first marble. That's because it's duplicated from that. Now, if I want that to be a different color, I have to delete this. If I start changing this color, it's going to change the first one's color. So I want to get rid of it, add another one, or sorry, new, go down to transmission, weight, all the way up, roughness, right about here. Let's make this one kind of like orange-red. You know, and we'll do this once again. Shift D, Y. And we will get rid of this texture by pressing the minus. Click new, come down to transmission once again, all the way up, roughness, pretty close to 0. Feel it out. And then we'll change this one. We'll do a green. Yeah, change that color to like a nice green. So now we have some nice color. Let's check our render. I like the way that looks. I like the way that looks. They look like marbles. The wood looks realistic. We were able to adjust the lighting so it's a bit more, you know, it just is a little bit more fine-tuned. It looks like glass to me. So let's say right now you're happy with everything and you're like, man, I want to, you know, post on social media or whatever you want to do. Let's render this for real. All we have to do is come over into this output properties panel right here, and we just choose the format that we want. We can do PNG or JPEG, either's fine. I'm going to choose JPEG right now. Now all we have to do is come up here where it says render, click, just hit render image, and it's going to start rendering. It's going to be close up so we can scroll back with the mouse wheel, and as you can see, it's processing right here, sample out of 300 as we set in the render properties panel. Frame 1, it took 11 seconds to render. And I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. You're done, except for finally coming under image and save. Let's go under the desktop, wood, glass, and it should be right in your render folder, just like that. So yeah, I hope that this tutorial was helpful to you, and if you like what you learned, please leave me a comment. Consider subscribing, because I am thinking about doing more tutorials with more advanced techniques. And yeah, leave a like and let me know what you thought. I'd really like to hear from you. So yeah, have a good day. Take it easy out there.